Welcome, Black Hollywood fans. On today's Fit Club, we talk diet pitfalls, 20-second workouts, and more with bodybuilder and YouTube sensation Brian Turner. Stay tuned. Fit Clubbers, we are back. Thank you so much, Mr. Turner, for joining us. We're joined by bodybuilder, YouTube sensation Brian Turner. I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Ms. TK Trinidad.
What's up, guys?
And again, I'm your host, Shaka Smith. Where can they find you online, Mr. Turner?
You can find me on Instagram, Brian Turner Official, or on YouTube, you can just find me, Brian Turner.
Yeah, we got so much to talk about. You got a great story and so much going on right now. But we're going to get into a couple stories, and we'll dig into what's going on with you.
Sounds good, man.
Our first story is about the hidden pitfalls of popular diets. It's the beginning of the year. Everyone's looking for the diet change-up. But we have all these buzzwords that kind of influence the way we eat, and they may not be doing the right things for our bodies. The first one is gluten-free. I think the notion is everyone is indulging a little bit more when you think it's gluten-free. Instead of having the slice of cake, we're having the entire cake. And typically when things are gluten-free, a lot of times you'll add a little bit more sugar, a little bit more salt, a little bit more fat. Same thing with the low-fat, reduced fat, or fat-free.
Sugar-free.
Yeah, a lot of times we think we can eat more because of it, but a lot of times things have more calories as a result to make it taste better. If it's fat-free, doesn't mean they didn't add more sugar to it.
Yep.
Same thing with organic, where it's not a catch-all phrase. If it's organic, doesn't mean have it in abundance and you'll be good. And the Mediterranean diet, which is actually the #1 overall diet, again ranked by U.S. News and World Report, to promote heart health, can actually be a huge pitfall because a lot of that stuff can be so calorically dense. We're talking about nuts. You eat a full cup of nuts, you're talking about 800 calories as opposed to the handful you used to be having. Avocados, 120 calories a piece, and people love their guac.
Yep, California.
And olive oil, just 5 tablespoons, which is easy to put on like a salad, is 500 calories. So
Wow.
so you really want to be really want to be careful, even though the things that say they're great, especially now at the vegan, same thing. It blew my mind the first time I met a fat vegan because I was like, wait, how did this happen? So how have you dealt with these sort of buzz terms? Have you fallen for them, and then how did you maybe dig your way out?
Yeah, man. Well, I've been bodybuilding for 11 years now.
Yeah.
So when I was first starting, it was definitely just like that. You go on the internet, you see what everyone's doing, and you kind of, you have to test it yourself, right? And the only thing you ever see with those fads is the good stories. Yeah. Otherwise, they wouldn't be trendy, right? So you go online, you could look up any of those things you just said, keto or whatever, and you'll get tons of people who are like, this is the best. I lost all my weight on this. So there's always success stories to all those diets, which then gets you excited about it. So I've done like a lot of them and tested a lot of things and seen like what works for me and what doesn't work for me. And what always works best for me is just keeping it simple. Like trying to do these fad diets all of a sudden that you've never done before and they've never worked for you. Yeah. If you've had things work for you in the past, why are you changing the formula so much?
Yeah.
So for me, I just if it's something that I've never heard of before, there's new research, I'll look into it. Yeah. But generally now I don't jump into a new diet because it's a new diet. You know what I mean? I feel like I'll read into it more instead of actually doing it myself.
I think people jump into it. You said if it's working for you, why do you jump into it? I think people do because sometimes they get bored.
Yeah.
What do you do when you could just get bored with a diet?
I honestly,
or food?
I don't know, man. Like that, I think other people have a different relationship with food than I do. I think a lot of people have a very emotional relationship with food, where they do get bored. You know what I mean? They don't want to date that same meal that they've been dating for the last couple of years. But I'll eat the same 8 meals in rotation over and over, and every once in a while I'll have one extra, something weird. I'll go out to eat at some new vegan restaurant or something like that. But for me, it's a lot of routine. And like I said, I've been bodybuilding for such a long time. I look at food like calories and macros more so than I haven't had a big fried whatever. So for me, it's not as big of a struggle.
Yeah, I'm a simple food person too, where I can eat the same meal over and over and over again.
No.
Is it a guy-girl thing? I don't know.
I mean, I feel like I'm simple too. I literally have a pan and a pot, and I'm very minimal as far as cooking. But this week I had zucchini noodles with vegan meatballs, and today I made cauliflower stir fry. I make it different, but being in LA, you can make it different and do mixes and matches. Remember I made that shepherd's pie with the cauliflower? Yeah. So it's I like the different things, but eating the same, because I did when I did one competition, and that was years ago, never doing it again. It was just same thing every single day. Yeah. That to me would eventually throw me off. There's like, yes, I need pizza, and not only do I need a slice, I'm gonna have the whole pie from Mulberry Street Pizza on Jerome because it's New York style and
Shout
it's
out.
really good. So it's just like for me, it's just like the simple. If I keep it different, and also stuff that I used to love, but make it healthier, then I don't crave it and I won't go overboard when I see like that restaurant, like, oh, chopsticks, so let me grab 2 shrimp fried rice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't do that because I already had fried rice. So I guess maybe it's a guy-girl thing, or maybe you guys are just better than me. I don't know.
No, I need to run a poll on that. No, because I feel like I've talked to a lot of girls about it too, and they need variety. The ones I've spoken to tend to need more variety than I do. Where I'm just like, when I find a meal I like, I get excited because I found the meal I like, so I can ride this out for a year. You know?
No, I mean, who knows, right? But I think generally from like dealing with my girlfriend and like her friends and stuff and eating out with them, a lot of times when we go to a new place, they get something new. All the time.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm always, if I go to Plant Power Fast Food, for example, I'm always going to get buffalo wings, period. Even if they're like, here's the new fall menu, I'm like, yeah, that's nice, but I'm going to get the
That
buffalo.
one, that's it, yeah.
So I don't know, maybe it is a guy-girl thing, but for me, I'm a creature of habit, so it's easy for me to keep in a routine.
Nice. Well, speaking of changing up the routine, they're finding that you can do 20-second exercise snacks. What they did was it was a small study.
Exercise snacks?
Yeah, so not actual food, but the exercise is so short, it's a snack, 20 seconds. They did a small study of healthy but inactive college students, and they had half of them, remain sedentary, remain in their routines, and the other half were given 3 short bursts of activity throughout the day that they had to do in 20-second intervals. They were given a warm-up, however, where they had to do 10 jumping jacks, 10 squats, 5 lunges each side, and 1 minute cool down. And then they did 20 seconds of up and down the stairs. And they found that over a 6-week period, they were able to increase their VO2 max by 5%.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's like, and for me, I thought that was such a great story because you can do a little something every day,
Right.
a little bit more activity than the day before that will actually help you get better. And now we have a little bit of science to kind of back that up. What do you do when you get busy, or do you have moments where the activity kind of builds up and you've got to somehow break yourself out of it? And how do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, like when we're traveling, like for example, I'm from San Diego, so I'm up here in LA, and we did like a big influencer house. So it's not always easy to get to the gym because you have like 12 other people's schedules to deal with. So by the end of the night, if I haven't done anything at all, I always want to do something for my abs.
Yeah.
Just because like, as you get older, man, if you don't have good core strength, you're going to have your hips go out of whack, transfers in your legs and in your back and stuff. So maybe not 20 seconds, but I'll do, like a minute or 2 of some planks, a couple like sliding things with your feet coming up, while you're sliding on the ground, doing those abs and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I know this again, not 20 seconds, but another really awesome thing is to do 100 of something. So if you do 100 push-ups or 100 air squats, and however long it needs to take for you, if you can do that in 2 minutes, then do it in 2 minutes. Or if it needs to take 10 minutes, you can do it in 10 minutes. That's a good way to just be like, 100, that's easy, I can do that.
Right.
Okay, let's go. Get off the couch, stop watching that new Black Mirror or whatever the Netflix series
You can
you're
watch
watching.
it and still do it.
Oh, yeah,
That's a
right?
good point.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, different stuff, but also too, don't beat yourself. And I wonder too with the study, the people who did the snacks, were they active in like high school? Because there's a difference if they were active in high school and then they just got the college 15 and all this other stuff versus them being completely inactive.
That's a good point.
Because on top of that, if you are active and life happens, like don't beat yourself up because you didn't get that workout in. So it's like you have to almost have that balance too. So
Yeah, and also important to note that they probably had to be doing pretty intensive workout for the 20 seconds. So it works best with college students whose joints that, when they are inactive, they can still kind of go and do a hard workout, whereas when you're 40 and inactive, you can't just jump into a hard workout.
Yeah, you can be Snap
Hip
City.
issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So I will say that's a caveat. These were inactive college students. So our next story is about this craze about celery juice, which I just realized has been taking over. But they're, and we're going to kind of examine whether these claims are true. But the claim is these cluster salts from celery juice. They flush out pathogens, stabilize adrenals, kind of heal your illnesses because of the antiseptic effect, detox you, psoriasis, eczema, acne. So Epstein-Barr, even shingles, they say it cures. So, but is there any evidence for this? And what we're finding, well, not even finding, cluster salts, is not a term, so it's not even scientific. So a lot of times the people use these terms that sound scientific, but they don't actually exist in nature. But there's been no actual evidence to back much of this up. But what we do know is that it does contain a lot of vitamins and minerals, potassium, calcium, sodium, silicone, vitamin K, coumarin, all these things that do kind of help a little bit boost the immune system, help to reduce inflammation, but it's not a silver bullet for any one thing that you may be suffering from. So it's sort of best to kind of use it as part of an arsenal rather than say, celery juice, I'm good, I'm done.
Right.
How do you go about dealing with things that are kind of promising the silver bullet? And I don't know, or have you found anything that does work, that is a silver bullet for what it is, you know?
I mean, everything's always going to claim it's a silver bullet, especially if there's someone behind it. Because the celery craze, I think a large part of it is there's a doctor who's selling a book right now and like a program that kind of teaches you how to do it most effectively.
Right.
So there is a little bit of a campaign behind it. So like, of course, they are going to say, this is the thing that'll cure whatever it is that you have.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, do your research. Go look up and see, like you're saying, is that a real word? Is that a definition that exists?
Yeah, cluster salts.
Right, bisodium cluster salts. I've heard like a million times in like the last 2 weeks. And then like go look up the studies and see if they're scientific studies that actually make sense. It's not just like 2 people in the study.
Yeah.
But I would say like in certain cases, you can kind of use your brain and be like, okay, while maybe all these benefits aren't guaranteed, they certainly can't hurt me to drink celery juice.
Right.
Like that's got to be good for you, right? I mean,
Yeah.
pure vegetables and stuff. So I've actually started juicing beet juice, and then because this celery thing came out, I was like, I'll throw a couple stalks of celery in there too. So yeah, you were asking me like if I have any silver bullets. I wouldn't say it's a silver bullet, but if you are someone who lifts, try some beet juice. It sounds gross.
Yeah.
It doesn't taste great, but if you drink it like 45 minutes, hour before your workout, it has a high amount of nitrates. Just,
The pump is insane.
dude, it's insane. It's like citrulline malate or AAKG, but better.
I stumbled on it because I was just juicing, and I started blending the beets with like mango, just randomly. I just wanted to add beets to the thing, and then like a week later, I was just like, my workouts are insane, and I was like, what have I changed? And then I actually looked up beets and found that they give you that effect. So it was just like reverse engineering. And so sometimes you're your best sort of own experimenter, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Variety is the spice of life. Just keep it, as long as it's for me, it's just as long as it's healthy and it makes sense. And it's not, some packaged thing. Then why not? But then it's when they do, and again, it just depends on your lifestyle. But when they do, it's like, oh, this particular thing, you're gonna do it for a year and a half in order to get to this, and
And I think some people see these and they go crazy and they go, I'm going to drink celery juice all day, or I'm going to make my own celery juice cleanse. And
I think everybody wants the easy way. It's not wherever you are as far as the lifestyle or where you're trying to be. If it's daunting and you want to lose 90 pounds or whatever, or that last 10 pounds refuse to come off, then it's just kind of like you just. Yeah. The grind sometimes gets too much and you just want something, you want that easy button.
But it's tempting because I think about it a little bit with you, because you suffered from acne and I'm assuming tried all these different things. Maybe we're hoping for a silver bullet. Like how did you deal with that in regards to that struggle?
Well, I mean, I tried all the silver bullets when I had acne. I mean, like, I don't know if you're going to be able to pull up photos or anything like that, but I had like really, really cystic nodular acne. It was covering my entire face. There wasn't like one spot on my face that wasn't bright red or white with the little heads and stuff. But so like I would hear anything that would possibly help my acne go away, and I would try it immediately. I'd buy every 3-step product. I'd do all the diets that were supposed to help me and stuff. None of it really works, especially like if you have something that's so severe. So like if like you were saying, if you have like a lot of weight to lose, you're also doing the same thing. You're looking around everywhere. What's going to possibly make me lose this weight? And you try all these different things, but it's not about like those supplements that are going to fix you. It's about fixing whatever the main issue is that's causing the problem.
That probably informed a little bit about how you looked at bodybuilding and like supplementation and food and eating, just knowing that there was no magic bullet. So you already knew that going in.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, after a while, I just figured like none of this stuff is working. I have to look deeper. Like what's causing what's causing the problem instead of addressing the symptoms? What's causing the source of the problem? So legit, I tried everything. I even got on Accutane, and after it finally cleared me up, then like 8, 9, 10 weeks later, I was already getting cysts again, and I was like, I can't go through this again, man. What can I do? So I had heard a little bit about how whey protein was causing people acne, so I took that out, saw a little improvement, and then I was like, well, whey's created from dairy, so what if I take dairy all the way out? And when I took dairy completely out of my diet, like 100% of my diet, I started to see those real big improvements.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you had never been diagnosed with like an allergy prior to...
No, no, nothing. Like, well, also what sucks is that dermatologists, they're not allowed to like tell you about diet or anything like that. So they just push medicines on you and stuff. So I had to do my own research on it.
Yeah, some doctors have been sanctioned for discussing diet with their patients,
which is insane.
Like,
well, too, you have to think too with the doctors, because like you go to a nurse, she actually takes more classes in health and nutrition and diet.
That's insane.
The doctors only take, I think, one class, so they really can't they really can't give you any information beyond what the stuff that they read. And then also, by the way, with this American healthcare, they charge you extra for that. If they're doing like just a yearly checkup, they charge you extra to talk about weight loss.
Oh, that's like an extra consultation.
It
or
was
something?
$50, and $50 is like not a lot, but I'm like, this is we were literally just having a discussion, and you're charging me for a discussion.
Right, it's like the principle of it.
Yeah, it's
and $50
crazy.
is a lot. Like that's a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah. So I mean, even if they could give you information, they're not well versed on it. So they can really give you helpful information. It's more guessing like everybody else is.
Right, that's a sad part about our medical
Absolutely
education. And speaking of that, so we have to be our own sort of best warriors when it comes to the nutrition research confusion. And so that's the next story, is how to kind of combat a lot of this confusion, because you know, I always say look to studies, but then sometimes the studies are kind of confusing themselves and putting you down a path that's not necessarily intended. So the unsavory truth really is that a lot of these studies are sponsored by different companies, and obviously if they're sponsored by the company's going to have an interest. So you know, one of the examples was pomegranates, which has a high antioxidant activity, but they weren't putting out as having high antioxidant activity in relationship to other fruit. They were just saying it has high antioxidant activities. But what's the relationship to grapes, which are a lot cheaper? You know, so just different things like that. And so there's a couple things that we can do on our own to kind of have our own measures of whether a study should be looked at or is valid. Number one, are the results biologically plausible? So, you know, if it screams like this is not even something that's possible that could happen, obviously don't follow the study.
Right.
Two, what have they controlled for, like confounding variables, dietary foods, behavioral or lifestyle factors? So, for instance, you know, I guess when we talk about the college kids, was that group somehow more active than the others, and we have to look at the different variables? What was their diet versus other people's diet? And then three, of course, who sponsored it. And a lot of times that's always a little bit harder to find. You have to like do some digging to find out who sponsored. Recently, Coca-Cola sponsored a study that showed that kids, that are obesity that are linked to kids, is a result of low physical activity, poor sleep, and a lot of TV watching. Of course, the study didn't look at their sugary habit, their sugary drink habit. So sometimes studies can be true and give you some sort of part of an accurate presentation, but not give you the entire thing. How do you deal with that? Because, you know, it's a study, so you figure, hey, it's good.
I mean, yeah, well, people always because I'm on YouTube and Instagram a lot, so I have a lot of people who follow me, and then they'll be like, hey, have you seen this new study and stuff? And a lot of people, like you're saying, they'll pick the studies that promote whatever they're trying to promote or like back up whatever they're trying to back up. So whenever I find a study, especially as a vegan, because that's what a lot of vegan people look for, is like that vegan study that proves that there's more.
Everybody should be vegan.
Right. I always play devil's advocate with it before I start like promoting that study, because that's what other people are going to do who are anti-vegan, right? So I don't want to get lambasted when I find out that I've been promoting a study that's completely not found in science. So I'll just look at it the other way, like as if I was somebody who hated vegans. Like, what could I say to tear apart this study? And then if it passes that test and it's like, wow, you really can't say no to this, then I'll start promoting it and stuff. That's the way I'll do it.
It's doing sociology in college is just one of those things that you realize, especially looking at society now, everything is backed by a company. So even the studies with, you know, a scientist which has, you know, the best of intentions, they still have to pay their bills. So, you know, it's like, what are you going to attention to the study to find out versus, you know, we're just going to do a study and see what happens. So with those, that's what you had said it earlier on, just keeping it simple. Like if pomegranate was like the it food 2 summers ago, and then the icy was it icy bowl, acai bowls, all that stuff, and it's just like, okay, that's fine. Like, you know, dabble in some pomegranate, like, you know, have a bowl, but like not necessarily have it every single day. And then on top of that, try to almost get in tune with your body so that if there is a problem, figuring out, okay, well, it is dairy. And let me take that. Let me take that out, because you can find stuff on dairy, you know, which is, you know, the pus and the mucus, and just watch, what is it, Whole Foods or whatever that documentary is. You can find that stuff on there, and it's like, okay, well, you know, take out dairy, but some people don't want to take out dairy, but then you see the issues. So it's just like, you have to be in touch with your body, because something that works for you, taking out dairy, might not work for somebody else.
I was reading recently about the carnivore diet, which is actually like growing in popularity. Have you heard about the carnivore diet?
Yeah, it's the response to the vegan diet. Yeah.
That's my brother's, like, eat meat or die. Like, that's
a lot of
his thing.
triglycerides in your blood.
But, you know, I was reading about it, and they do have some scientific studies. They have their stuff on their side as well. So what's your take on the carnivore diet?
like we've been saying, you can find a study and you can find a person that works for anything, and you can attribute anything you want to whatever you want to. So you can say like, yeah, I've been eating a lot of bacon and eggs and stuff. Now I feel great.
Yeah.
That's subjective.
Yeah. It's like, okay, amazing. Yeah.
Cool science there.
Yeah.
Or like I could like if I wanted to, I could eat a bunch of donuts and lose weight, and it doesn't mean that donuts are the right way to lose weight. It's just that I know how to do it correctly in a way that you be. So it's like, I don't know, man. When it comes to the carnivore diet, I just think about it like this, like. What are you putting in your body, really? Like, most people who are doing the carnivore diet are just doing it because they want to eat tons of ground beef. They want to eat, like, lots of butter with a steak. They want to have bacon whenever they want. Like, all those things are pleasure foods, but really, like, how much cholesterol is in there? How much, like, total triglycerides are in there? Like, your blood triglyceride level is hugely increased.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know. To me, it sounds like you're asking for heart disease.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to get anywhere near that, man.
Yeah. That was my problem with if it fits your macros. And not necessarily the idea that you could have whatever foods you want to make the body that you want. So that idea I'm with.
Right.
But the idea seemed to me to be eat junk food, look great. And I was like, but wait a minute, you're not going to feel great, and then 10 years from now you might just die, you know?
Yep.
So that was so you were also on that same train.
100%, yeah. IIFYM, it was completely based off of like, okay, in the beginning of the day, you have the things that you don't want to eat, like vegetables and like whole grains and stuff, but then you save as much as you can for the end of the night, and you figure out all your macros so that you can have like a whole tub of Ben & Jerry's. And like, you know that's not good for you, having 900 calories in pure sugar. Every day, but that's what everyone was using that diet as.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, for me, it's like it works. That works as a cheat day because then you hit your macros, but you had the thing that you wanted to cheat with. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could have like the cheap meal and stuff like that, but even with people who are meat eaters, that's where the balance comes in. Like it's like you don't need a steak like every single meal. Like you don't need, it's just one of those things. Like for me, why I stopped eating meat is just I wasn't feeling good.
Yeah.
And it's just like I felt like when I had chicken, it was just like sitting in my system.
Yeah.
So for me, I just feel better not having meat often.
Yeah.
And like if you feel like you're not functional or you want to be healthy or you're struggling or whatever, then that it is, people can claim it as a fad, but you might want to at least try it for like a week or two. It's not, you don't have to buy anything, you just don't buy meat.
Yeah.
So it's just like one of those things. But again, if you want to eat meat, that's great. Eat it. Like whatever, but like eat it in portions and a balance. Like don't just have meat and no vegetables. Like it's just
that sounds insane to me. Like because that's what a lot of people are doing, and I'm like, well, where are you getting your vitamins from?
Oh yeah. The keto diet I think is like way more. People are losing a lot of weight with that. I have a friend who's lost I think 40 or 50 pounds. He's like a CrossFitter, and he's lost a lot of weight with that. And I was like, well, like, how are you feeling? He's like, oh, I'm feeling like okay, but I look great. I'm like,
it's not sustainable.
All right, dude.
Yeah.
Like
it's not really sustainable.
You like know better. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, like when I'm talking in the middle of conversations, I kind of glaze out and forget what's going on. But I look good.
My brain is just like malfunctioning.
Yeah, people take it to the extreme too much when it comes to those fat diets. I think if you are going to try something that's different, that's completely out of your wheelhouse, taking carbs out, taking fats out, or whatever it is, you still got to make sure that you're hitting your macros. By macros, I mean vitamins and minerals. Everybody needs that. I know it sounds a little bit boring, but when you get to your 40s and 50s, you're not going to be stoked when you have cancer because you didn't have, or anemia or something because you never had iron in your diet. So you got to worry about those little things, and then you can go do all those crazy trends.
And you can like do that in like a shake, as like getting like just different fruits and vegetables in your shake, and you can, you don't necessarily have to do whey. There's like vegan protein, or it's just like so many different options. And shakes are, to me, if you do it right, it's like a dessert. Like you know what I'm saying? So
Agreed.
It's just kind of like you can get a lot of vitamin and nutrients from that too.
We forget the word balance. People just want to be like such a part of a tribe, and like they want to be part of like that extreme tribe, And so I think we miss out on a lot of that. So people want to eat just meat, or just like I'm going vegan, but I'm going to be this hardcore vegan and let everyone know about
raw vegan or something like that.
Yeah, and so they don't. We're missing out on this balance.
Yeah, and some people are like that. Like I'm very in certain things. I'm very like I work out. I attempt to work out every day because that's just my lifestyle. And people look at me like I'm crazy. Like some people are like that, but if it's not harming you, in the short term or the long term, then it makes sense. But if you don't think that, like, if you look at this and you're like, I'm gonna have like chicken and steak every meal for every day for the rest of my life, it's probably not
sustainable.
Yeah. So you want, and then the steroids and all the stuff that they're putting in the meat, and oh my gosh, what's his name? Damon Dash. If you haven't watched, he was talking about R. Kelly, it's whole rabbit hole stuff, but he was on an interview and he was talking about meat, and he's like, you know, as far as meat, we kill chickens, steaks, all that other stuff, but we don't like kill our dogs. Like it's still meat.
Yeah.
Not to say we should kill our dogs, but like who made this decision of like killing what animal?
Yeah.
And like if you think about it, like, you know, if you kill your dog, that's to you disgusting
It's
that
kinda
you're
shock.
eating, you know, a dead carcass.
Yeah.
And when he put it like that, I'm like, if I wasn't vegetarian before, after hearing him say
That
that, it
would've
makes
been
a
it.
lot of sense, you know? So it's just, you know, whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Just in balance.
She's like, at the end of the day, whatever
Just
you want.
whatever you want, just in balance. Just like if it makes sense to you, yeah. But like, you know, we had discussion, I think, a couple episodes again, we were talking about the fried chicken, all this stuff. If you want to have it, then fine. But every day is probably not the best
Best
day.
way to do it.
So
Yeah, balance is definitely key.
Yeah, and we got to talk about your transition from, I guess, trying to solve your acne to bodybuilder to YouTube sensation. So we have this video. We got to see kind of your acne, I guess, transformation and how it all began.
Yeah.
So play this now. I think it's going.
Well, I started getting acne at 15 and it just got worse and worse. At a certain point, I had 4 or 5 cysts on my face at any point. It was definitely the hardest thing that I've ever been through because so many people downplay how actually difficult that is and how traumatic of an experience that is. I've been bodybuilding for just about 10 years now, and I just fell in love with it. Well, I first started taking dairy out of my diet to see if it would help with my acne, and it helped so much that I figured I should see if other aspects of my diet would help clear my acne as well. If you're eating mostly whole foods in your diet, and especially if you're bulking and eating a lot of calories, you're gonna hit your protein and more without even trying. After my acne had cleared up, I started watching documentaries and started learning more about veganism and the ethics behind it, and now I can truly say that I am an ethical vegan.
And so, yeah, I wanted to ask you, about the initial transition, because you got rid of dairy, but why the meat at that time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good question. I mean, I got rid of the dairy and I saw improvements. So I was thinking, what else is in my body that's doing weird things that I'm consuming a lot of? Because the part that didn't mention is that I was doing a gallon of milk every single day.
wow.
I know.
Really?
So there was a thing, like we're saying, man, these trendy fad diets.
Yeah.
So there was a diet going around back in the day for bodybuilders. It was called GOMAD, gallon of milk a day diet.
Was it homo 2%? Ooh, 1%?
I can't remember. I think it was 1%.
Oh my
Because I was like trying to
goodness.
get a little bit less fat or whatever.
It's so funny. I was talking to a friend last weekend, and he's like, because he always has to have milk with his cereal, and I'm like, why don't you just do almond milk? He's like, it's not the same. I'm like, you can literally, because I remember we had in Canada, we have the milk in bags, by the way. So we had 2% milk, then I went to 1% milk, then I went to skim milk, then I went to watering down the milk, then I went to almond milk, and I watered that down. Like, it's just,
Yeah,
you know,
gradually.
yeah, it's a gradual thing. And then he's like, yeah, no. I was like, do you realize it's not even like good for you? He's like, I'm good. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, your taste buds can get adjusted
Yeah,
to anything.
yeah.
Like cashew milk I like more than I used to like normal
Yeah.
milk. Like cashew ice cream.
So much better, yeah.
But anyway, so I was having a gallon of milk a day, and then I was having like around 30, 40 ounces of red meat, usually a steak, and then I was having about 8 chicken thighs a day. So those were like my carnivorous diet
yeah.
every single day, like for like years and years and years. So, I mean, if I take milk out, the other large thing that I'm doing is like huge amounts of meat. And like you were mentioning earlier, like you don't know how much antibiotics they're shooting in there, especially steroids. You hear that all the time. And like you go and see like
They're massive, yeah.
they're massive cows. And so like undoubtedly that's going into your body and into your stomach and digesting. Whether or not you're absorbing all that, that's questionable, but I think you are.
Yeah.
And so I just figured like I got to get all the toxins out of my body. So if I take the milk out, I saw an improvement. Let's see what happens when I take the meat out. And then I also just upped my vegetables at the same time. I was getting like 12 to 16 servings of veggies. So I'd call it like mega dosing veggies. But I saw an improvement from that as well. So like the milk I think was cystic acne, so those big marbles, they went away. But then once I got rid of the meat and increased the vegetables, then I started getting rid of like just those little pinprick whiteheads and little blackheads and stuff like that.
And you kind of did this, I guess, very publicly. You sort of became a YouTube sensation out of this. How is that sharing this? It's very personal and also like not great to look at, the vanity of it all.
Damn.
No,
Going for it.
Wow.
no, but you were kind of doing it as you're going through it. And so like, how was that dealing with that process? And then how did you decide to use your platform to kind of share with others?
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree with you. Like, it is, it's something very, like, extreme to share, especially when you have like a full HD camera. It's this close to your face.
We're normally used to like the weight loss story.
Yeah.
Right.
This
Right.
is like, whoa. Yeah.
And also, like, you know, usually you're used to people saying, like, ew, acne, or like,
Yeah.
oh, don't look at me, it's my
Yeah.
acne. So I was like, let's change the narrative on that, because acne is not your fault. It's not like you decided to put that on your face.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you shouldn't feel ashamed of it, because it's not something you decided to do.
Yeah.
So I wanted, in the first place, just to, like, make videos to show, like, hey, this is me, and here's me really close up, and I'm showing it to thousands of people. So if you're sitting in your house and you're afraid to go down to the store or something, because I have loads of people who literally don't leave their house because they're so self-esteem and like they're insecure. I'm like, now you can see this guy getting hundreds of thousands of views, and I don't care at all about all these comments.
Right.
So now you can be a little bit more confident about going out. So that was like one of the main reasons I did it. But then I was also just like chronicling my journey as to how can I get rid of this acne. And I was just seeing so much support. I was seeing these people who like, I have like super severe depression. I was suicidal. I started watching your videos. I went along on the Accutane adventures, and now I have a really positive outlook, and I decided not to like go through suicide. Like once I started seeing messages like that, I was like, it's over.
Especially for like young kids, because when you're a kid, you don't really think of your diet as something that would influence you. You just don't,
Right.
it doesn't occur to you.
Plus the hormone changes
Yeah.
and the diet, the combination.
Yeah.
Just
I mean, that's how I
damage,
was.
yeah.
I was just like, doctor, what do I take? You know what I mean? They give me antibiotics, it doesn't work. Okay, what's next? You know what I mean? You never think about your diet.
Yeah.
So I wish if I was back when I was 15, if I first started getting acne, I would have gone through YouTube and found all this stuff. I would have changed the way I addressed it, but there was no acne content out
Right.
there.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is a niche that needs to be filled out, and so that was kind of like, I guess, my place.
Yeah.
Because now, like, there's a few different acne channels. It's starting to grow, like the whole acne community and stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to be there for people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and now you've taken on this sort of vegan leadership, and you've started these vegan houses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the restaurant, but this vegan YouTube house. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I started doing YouTube House before I was vegan. So I went vegan 4 years ago, for reference. Again, I've been bodybuilding for 11. So that was like a new thing for me, doing YouTube House. I've done 5 seasons now. And we do it once each year. YouTube House, for example, is like 8 to 12 or so different YouTubers living in a single house, living for like about 2 weeks. It's just very interesting because you get to see like your favorite YouTubers, like, oh snap, one's from New York, one's from Canada, one's from, and they're all together in a house. It gets people really excited. I just think it's a cool, content change. But then last year was the first year that we did it all vegan. So originally it was just all fitness people that everybody knew. And then I was like, man, this is going to be weird because people who aren't vegan generally are very defensive about veganism.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, let's just go for it. Let's see what happens. And then this year was actually the most successful year that we've had, which is really cool. We had like 2 very blockbuster huge channels, Yovana, Ravana, and then like Raw Alignment, who are both like million subscriber people. And the whole thing was really fun, man. It was really awesome. And again, it's just a cool way to show people like veganism isn't this crazy weird. It's not keto or something where you have to like kill yourself. It's just like we're all just doing normal things. It's the same thing as last year, except everyone's vegan now. We're still eating at restaurants. We're all still lifting. It's all normal.
Yeah, but I think we do get that sort of perception of that, like we're crazy, and then and we want to change you.
Right.
So like so that's hopefully we're combating that slowly.
Right. Yeah. I think where that idea came from is back when veganism was like very non-popular.
Yeah.
It was very militant vegans.
Yeah.
There was also lots of like hippie vegans and like, oh, I don't use deodorant and stuff. And so people still have that kind of notion and taste in their mouth.
Yeah.
And so people like me and like my friends who are on YouTube and stuff, I think we're trying to change the idea and perception of what vegan can be, because it's just a bunch of cool people who happen to be vegan.
Yeah, it's kind of like, religion and Christianity. You have the people who like just get saved and then they want to save everybody else, which is, great.
Yeah.
But then it's off-putting sometimes.
Yeah.
And then, you could be that person who is of faith and you're just living by faith and you're like, this person's a cool person. Then you ask questions that draws them in. Same thing with veganism or whatever else you do. CrossFitting is a whole nother thing too. It's just kind of like, just live your life, and they see that you're fit and they're like, man, that's a handsome looking guy, let me find out what's going on. Then it's easier that way. But sometimes and I understand how people get passionate about it, but I'm the same way. As I don't I just don't dabble in meat, and I'm not going to go into, unless you ask me the reasons why, and I'm not like a super very militant about it. But it's when you look at it and you see the documentaries and you see animals and you see what they're putting in the animals. Here in North America, it's a little bit different opposed to somewhere else. If you're growing those animals on your farm and the air is not as polluted, then I could see you dabbling.
Yeah. Right.
But here it's just we're getting poisoned in so many different ways, and you're almost adding to it by ingesting that. But
And how often, like, when you get into a debate with somebody, does the other person actually change their opinion?
Yeah.
Instead of, like, telling someone you're wrong because of this, that's never going to work. Instead, just do you. And then people who like what you're doing, they think you're a cool person, they'll start emanating, trying to do what you do, too.
Yeah.
So it's lead by example instead of being militant.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah. And I never do the whole debate thing. I'm like, if we're going to talk about things that we're on the opposite side of, then it's information gathering.
Right.
It's like, I'm going to give you information, and you can decide what to do with that later, and you
Yeah.
give me the same, and I'll decide what to do with it later. Right. We're not going to debate each other. I'm going to change your
Yeah,
mind right now.
it's never a good situation.
I got to ask you, as someone who transitioned while competing, you always get the, did you lose muscle? Did you lose size? People even tell you, oh, you look a little bit small. I'm like, no, I don't look small. But, how about you? What's been your experience? Have you gotten smaller? What's been your experience?
Yeah, that's a good point, man. People magnify the hell out of it. When you go vegan, they're like, oh, you got sick? I thought you weren't allowed to get sick because you're vegan. So you're like, dude, everything is different when okay. But I didn't have any actual issues with it. Again, like I told you, like I look at food very meticulously, very number based. So it's not really pleasure for me. I'm not just sitting there like, oh man, now I'm vegan. I can eat all these donuts and all this crazy stuff. So it's generally I just did the exact same thing that I did before. Whereas I would have like pasta. I'll just have pasta now, but instead of putting a chicken breast in the pasta, I'll put like black beans, or I'll put like vegan meatballs in there or something. So it's
Vegan meatballs are so good.
they're so good, dude. And there's like more and more products that are coming out, so it just becomes easier and easier.
We're
as we
living
go.
in a lucky age, a very fortunate age,
Yeah.
and in a lucky area of
Yeah,
the
like-
country too.
Yeah, like I told you, like my dad's been vegetarian all my life, and the stuff that he used to pick up for us were like in those brown boxes, and they were disgusting.
Or like
It was
Morningstar and Boca Burgers back in the day. Gross.
Yeah. That was my first introduction to it was like years ago when I was like 12 or 13. I was like, I will never, ever, ever, ever be vegan. This
Right.
is disgusting.
Yeah.
Right, turned a lot of people off.
Yeah, I was like, never.
Go back to your question though, like I didn't have any issues when it came to bulking and cutting. I was going around the same ranges as if I had not changed anything. So I was getting up to 215, 220 for a
Seeing
bulk.
the macros, yeah.
Exactly, and then I'd come back down for competition stage like 190 or 167 to 173 pounds, somewhere around there. So literally nothing changed at all.
Yeah.
But you're right, like people will magnify every little thing. So if you're at the end of your competition phase and you start bulking, you're smaller than you were when you were bulking, right? So people are like, oh, looks like you lost a lot of strength because you're vegan.
Yeah, you're like, no.
I'm like, man, I've been doing this for 11 years, so I'm used to that. As soon as you finish cutting and then you start bulking again, people are always like, you look small. So, it's the internet. It's what the internet does.
Did anything get better?
Yeah, definitely. The one thing that helped for me was, I mean, like I said, I was going pretty extreme with like the milk and stuff.
Yeah.
So when I took that out, the mucus just gone. Wow. I would wake up every morning and I'd have like sticky mouth, and I'd have to like, clear my
I
mouth.
understand.
Milk.
Like that's just such
You know?
a manifestation. The same friend that with the milk and the cereal, he like that's what he does. I'm like, you do realize this is from the milk. Like this is from the cheese.
How
Like
long was that happening to you?
What do you mean?
With the mucus?
Oh, that was like my whole bodybuilding, like everything.
And you never attributed it to the milk before? Or you
No.
just didn't care?
I just thought, man, like I'm eating a lot of calories. I'm eating like 5,000 calories. So yeah,
It
sure.
happens. Yeah.
Right. But
some
then
people think it's normal too. It's like a normal
Exactly.
process. It's like when people. Again, I've said this a billion times on the show, but the whole gas thing, like people think that,
Yeah.
oh, you're an adult, so gas is supposed to kill everybody around you.
Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
not supposed to be that fierce.
Yeah.
Like, it's not.
Well, because you're relatively healthy, but your body's kind of turning against you and giving you warning signs.
Yeah.
But you don't know, so you say, oh, it's just the body
That's
doing what
normal,
it
yeah.
does. Yeah.
well, it's all you know, right? You
Yeah.
don't have a contrast to compare it to.
Yeah.
So then, when I went vegan, I was like, whoa, this is weird.
Mm-hmm.
I can just wake up and I'm good to go. The other thing, like when I wake up, I feel like I have a lot more energy immediately. Whereas,
Same, yeah.
I feel like I used to have to kind of warm up and like drink a bunch of water, maybe get a little coffee. Then I'm like, okay, now
Yeah.
I'm good. But I wake up, I have a lot of energy now. And then the last big improvement that I always mention when people ask me this question is like the inflammation of my joints is a lot lower. Like I used to always be like real puffy everywhere. Like the lower part of my face too would always have like this big, I'd call it moon face. It'd be like always bloated so you couldn't see like the bones in my face and stuff. And again, like for me, I think I have some sort of like a dairy intolerance. And I was just stuffing myself with dairy.
Right.
And that was causing me like achy and sore and inflammation everywhere.
And then thing too, I don't even consider it dairy. Like I remember when I went to Kenya and I had like milk there, two different things. Like I don't know what they're. It's not milk.
Yeah, and I think
It's not milk from like it. It's probably like one drop of milk from the teat of the cow, and
Yeah.
there's some other stuff that's in there. Like it's not. It's just it's
Yeah,
It's
I think
crazy.
the way we process food in general, I think it makes it so hard to even figure out what food is healthy because you're not getting it as the food that it was
It's
in the
supposed to be
initial
intended to
state.
be, yeah. Even the size of the
yeah.
chicken, like the size of the chicken's not supposed to be this. Like if you go and you raise a chicken and then you kill it, like the size of the drumstick versus what you get at KFC, or it's two different things. Like what is that really chicken? Like what's you know what I'm saying? It's just it's that food plus whatever they're adding in order for it to
it's like,
maintain.
I'm vegan, but I always thought maybe one day if I wanted to do like a small farm, I might have but even then I'd have to wait till like 10 generations because I'd want it to whatever's been in these animals before to like wash out.
Right.
You know, it's the way we breed these animals in society. It's not so great for our health.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to be militant again, but we are kind of going down that path. But like, yeah, like you're saying, when it comes to milk, like if you ever see the way they produce that stuff,
I haven't drank milk in years. It's
It's
almost
gross.
like McDonald's.
Yeah.
there's this
Don't
thing
even
called an
bother.
acceptable pus
Oh,
cell
yeah.
level. So there's an amount of pus that they're allowed per liter of milk that they're allowed to have in there. Pus being like white goo that comes out. Like that's gross, man. And so what they do is by the time it actually gets completely out into the vats and stuff, it's not pure white, which is what we want. We want that like pure white milk. And so they just bleach the milk.
Oh, I didn't know they bleached it.
So that tells you like something right there. Like that's weird, man. If you have to bleach it to make it look appetizing,
palatable.
yeah, I don't want to drink no yellow, red blood milk.
Yeah,
like that's
it's-
gross, man. So I'm gonna eat my nut milk.
Yeah, and I think for us, even as vegans, I think we have to be aware because as veganism gets more popular, it will get commercialized, and they might start looking for ways to cut and snip
Make
and
those
Yeah,
margins.
it's almond milk and like other
So-
stuff, but it's just kind of like which would you prefer? So it's almond milk,
yeah,
and they
yeah.
might add sugar or something that's still relatively natural in some state versus this steroidal animal that's producing milk that we shouldn't be like. It's just it's
But
the
I
choices
still-
of it.
Yeah, I still think it's better, but I still think in consumers we're all still, we're all still in this together.
Oh,
'cause
they're
we're
all
still got.
yeah. Either way, unless we have a farm on a piece of land far out where there's no like type of corporations, that's the only way. Either way, we're getting poisoned in some way, shape,
We're trying
or
to
form.
decrease it little
Yeah,
by
you're
little
just
every day.
decreasing it, so you've just extended your life by another day. Like it's just, so it's good, but just at least again make those choices.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we have a little thing we call Fit Club 5. We're going to ask you 5 rapid fire questions to get get the viewers more to know who you are.
Sure.
So,
All right, so here we go. Last person you text.
My mom.
Dream dinner guest.
Dream dinner guest?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
live or dead?
Oh God, I don't know, man. That's a hard one. First person that came to my head is Kevin James.
Okay. Last meal. What would be your last meal if you're on death row?
Oh, if I was on death row, it would be buffalo wings of some sort, probably from Plant Power fast food.
They're happy to hear that.
If you were on an island, you can only listen to one album. What album would it be?
Life After Death, Biggie Smalls.
Boom.
Nice. Kevin James. Huh.
Dude, I don't know why. That's not actually who I'd want
That's who your
to.
dream dinner guest?
I just-
the comedian Kevin James?
I just been following his Instagram lately. He's so funny. That's not who I'd really want to talk to, but
way.
it was in my head, man.
Well, I'm going to follow him now, too. Maybe something interesting.
It's
on
funny,
Instagram.
man. He's like trying to lose weight, so he's like making fun of himself. Like he'll like film a burger and be like, "Oh, baby, you look so good," but I have to say no. I have to say no, and it's just so funny, man. He's hilarious.
That's random. I like that, though.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you for joining us. This was awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate it. So definitely got to have you back on. We want to get some footage of these behind-the-scenes YouTube houses. So
Yeah.
love to have you back on for more of that.
Okay,
So,
sounds good, man.
well, guys, again, my name is Shaka Smith. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Shaka Strong.
And you can find me on everything at TK Trinidad.
Where can they find you?
You can find me, Brian Turner Official, or Brian Turner on YouTube and Instagram.
Awesome. We'll see you guys next week.
Ciao.
From executives Kevin Undergaro, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us. info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I am the official voice of Black Hollywood Live, Scipio. Instagram me at KingXOBay. Thanks for tuning in. The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.